Hey YouTube, this is David back again with another movie review. This time of film God's Not Dead, directed by Harold Kronk and starring Shane Harper as Josh Wheaton, Kevin Sorbo as Professor Radisson. There's a little cameo appearance by Willie Robertson as himself, and also his wife Corey Robertson as herself in the movie. Also some others I want to mention: Dean Cain, starring Dean Cain as Mark, and at least one other. Tricia LaFage as Amy Ryan. And just to get those few preliminary credits in there before I begin my review, I wanted to review this movie, one, because I saw it at the movies, and in keeping with this new hobby of mine of wanting to review everything that I see at the movies, as well as things just that I've seen before that I like enough to talk about them online in on this new channel of mine. I saw this film because I was intrigued by it. I mean, I wanted to see it as a Christian. Not because I'm a Christian necessarily. I am a Christian, but why I wanted to see it, I thought that, one, the name and the idea of that it puts forth just in the trailer and the brief synopsis you might see online of it, of a freshman college student. He believes in God. His professor wants to put it to everyone to say that God's not dead as part of this philosophy class, which that in itself, although it's documented, and yes, that does happen to some people from time to time, there is some over-the-top things in this film that I want to talk about. And although there were several things in the movie that I really loved, just different things here and there, the premise is something that I went into the movie thinking, I want to see this. I want to see what they've done with this film. What is this? But there is something that happens at the end of the film which I can't get over it, and it's not one of those things like, oh, you just need to let it go. No, it's not just over the top necessarily. It's wrong. Something that they did at the end of this film, I believe, is wrong. And broke my heart after all the good things that I had seen in the film, so much in fact that I'm probably going to end up titling this video a rant, because although it is a review of the film, I'm most likely going to call it a rant, because at the end, when I have to talk about this part of the film that I am going to talk about, and I have to talk about it, if I talk about this film at all with anyone, and obviously in this review, I'm going to end up talking about what happens at the end of this film and what they do with one of the key characters of this story that they tell. But I'll get to it. But let me just get into this, and this is going to be probably a lengthy review, a rambling review, as I try to bring to mind all the things that I saw at the movies when I watched this film at the movie theater, and what I liked, what I didn't like. So thank you if you're willing to hang with me until the end, but here goes. The film opens up introducing several of these characters. The character of Tricia LaFage as Amy Ryan. She's supposed to be she's depicted as like just a liberal blogger or an atheist or both. I'm not even sure. She's a headstrong person, and which is generally a good thing. But it's like she's an attacker. She attacks as like an activist or something. She wants to attack different things. Her fiance or her boyfriend is Dean Cain's character, Mark, and I believe that it's his sister who is played by Corey Oliver. I think they were brother and sister. The character's name is Mina, played by Corey Oliver. That Mina and Mark are brother and sister. And one other character, since I'm going to be sure to talk about this part of the movie, this other actress, if I can find her on IMDb, I'm not sure if I can or not. It doesn't look like she's well put forward here on IMDb, but anyway, their mother, Mark, the character Mark, played by Dean Cain, and Mina, played by Corey Oliver, their mother, who in this film is someone who, tragically, she seems to be in the advanced stages of Alzheimer's, I believe is what she had in this film. Being able to recall things that she likes, kind of a childlike remembrance of things, and yet in sudden moments she remembers things in perfect clarity, just that she can't remember dressing herself that morning or what happened yesterday, that kind of things, and even loved ones. And it kind of tugs on your heart at the beginning of the film when Mina's character is introduced. She's talking to this home health person, or this nurse lady. You're giving her chicken again to eat? And there her mother's like, oh, I haven't had this in so long, and she's so happy. And Mina's like, you're giving her that to eat again? I don't like her eating it all the time. And she says, what else is going to make her that happy? And then she goes over to her mother, and her mother doesn't know her. It's like, oh, are you new here? And you realize, oh man, she has Alzheimer's. And so they kind of tug on your heart right there at the beginning with that introduction. But the character of Tricia LaFay as Amy Ryan is someone who I'll definitely mention more in this review, in as much as some things that I want to get off my chest right now. There is an over-the-topness to the meanness displayed by people who are, we'll just say, in the film, less than devout believers. Dean Cain, he's all about getting ahead. It's like a dog-eat-dog world. So much so that when Amy, his girlfriend, or maybe fiancée, but we'll just say girlfriend, Tricia LaFay's character, finds out that she has cancer, he dumps her with literally this speech about, couldn't this have waited? And you're thinking, what are you, you psycho? Don't you have any compassion? You care about this woman, don't you? But literally, there are things in this film that are that over the top, and I immediately see what they're trying to do in the film. Like, this is someone, she doesn't believe in God. She tried to attack, what is his name, one of the Duck Dynasty guys. He's in this as a Willie Robertson and his wife. She's always got her recorder out to get she's like a blogger, reporter, something. I guess she was a journalist or something in the film. I can't remember what exactly her job was, because when you leave, if you watch this movie, what you're going to be left with, first things first, is the way certain people treated each other in this film. And certain other details will end up, you'll have to watch the movie again or go back and make sure of exactly who was doing what. So yeah, he dumps her when she finds out that she has cancer. It's hard to sit through, because she's someone who, she doesn't believe in God, and yet when she's confronted in such a straightforward, and they are very stark in this film with it's like she has no time for anything but what she's about. Granted, she enjoys what she's doing, but it's like in the film they're trying to put forward, and I'm afraid maybe a too much of an over-the-top way, that, well, when your time has come, so to speak, that you better have had your priorities straight. Literally, she's sitting in the doctor's office, and the doctor's got this worrisome expression on his face saying, well, we need to talk about these results, and phone rings, she can't listen to him right now. Like, oh, I'll have to call you back. Okay, what were you saying? And he tries to tell her again, well, Amy, I'm afraid that I need to take phone rings again. She has to answer it, and finally he just says, you have cancer. And then she's like, I don't have time for cancer. And then he says, well, we're going to do further tests. We're going to see if it's, or maybe he's actually saying then that it's already gotten into your lymph nodes and stuff, and we're just ascertaining how aggressive this cancer is. And so her character instantly is changed, again, not to what it is at the end of the film, but to this devastated person. You see her in her little electronic journal or online, whatever she's posting to somebody or to herself, just a journal online or something. I'm dying. She types it in. And you see her pick up the keyboard and smash it, and you see her burst out crying and just despair and devastation. And it's hard to sit through, because as that, like, despite her character, it's like it's hard hitting. This film at that part of the movie is to have her hit like a ton of bricks with this, when death and dying and thoughts of not being alive anymore and what that means if you have a soul, and is there life after death, God, none of that was on her mind, and yet here she's confronted with the reality she might be dead soon. And so it's a hard thing. But then it's even more over the top, the movie is, when Dean Cain, her boyfriend, just drops her like a ton of bricks, because it wasn't convenient for him in his career to have a sick girlfriend. And you realize, and she realizes in the movie, that this man never cared for me in the start with. And so she's thrown, it's like she's thrown into a complete disarray with not knowing what's what. And again, I'm afraid it's just too over the top, the way a couple of those scenes were. The way, yes, she finds out she has cancer, but then she the way he abandons her, and he is so career oriented and self-centered that he's even talking at one point toward the end of the movie to his invalid advanced Alzheimer's mother. She's in some kind of a little deal where she's just, whatever's going on in the mind, she's just sitting quietly and kind of staring at the wall. And he feels like, I'm sure, like he's even talking to himself. A little bit of brutal honesty, but at the same time, from a context or perspective of not caring, he's just kind of talking at her in the dark and just saying, you've seen it in the trailer. If you've seen the trailer for it, it's that part, and this is what he's saying: you have been like good, this godly woman or whatever, your whole life. You are the best person that I know. I'm the worst. And he just goes on into this it seems like for a couple minutes. This goes on with, and yet I'm here and you're there, and what's it all? And he's just, it's kind of sad to watch him doing that, but also something else happens, and his mother, she's kind of just staring off into space, and all of a sudden she hears the words, and something's being triggered in her mind. She goes into this speech about how, sin is like a prison. It's like this thing where you think you're happy for a little while, but it's deception, and before too long it's got you exactly where it wants you. And I'm not getting the speech completely right. I just remember the surprised look on his face when he realizes that his mother's more there than he thought. And so it kind of throws him for a loop to hear her say, and then one day you wake up and you can't escape from the prison that you put yourself in sin. And it was kind of an eerie scene in the movie. I mean, it was a good scene. I mean, I liked it. It's just, to think of what goes on with his character through the movie, it's like that didn't hit him. He didn't really rethink anything at all. His sister, Mina, I believe, is that the name? I believe Mina, played by Corey Oliver. she she had been after him about, you need to see mom more, or it's her birthday or something, and he was like, what's the point? It's like, she doesn't know I'm there anyway. It's like, but it was a neat thing to witness his character have at least some, even if he didn't go on it, even if he didn't get the hint with his character, it was kind of put in his face that his mother was more there, and in one respect had a better understanding of the world than he did, because he was just, his character is all about money, prestige, again, getting to the top, and basically cutting off any baggage that might keep him from getting there the way he wants to, including not seeing his mother and dumping his girlfriend. Again, I'm forgetting her name. Amy. So yeah, that was, some of it was good, and yet some of it was over the top, I'm afraid. But you understand the message that the movie's getting at, and it's generally, it is a good message. But other characters, let me do the other half and go ahead and talk about what the movie itself is actually about with the title, God's Not Dead. I keep losing them on IMDb. Mina, and this is what I'm kind of confused about. Kevin Sorbo is in this movie as Professor Radisson. He's depicted as the evil atheist professor. And again, it's kind of over the top in as much as, even if I was lucky enough not to ever have this situation happen to me, but I don't know, even if professors who, even if they wouldn't want God mentioned in their classroom, which they shouldn't really demand that, if we have freedom in this country at all, they shouldn't demand anything quite that extreme. But even in the situations that they document at the end of the film, where this has happened, and where they didn't even want students to be in their class if they believed in God or dared to talk about God, it's over the top the way they do it in this movie. Then again, I realize it is a movie, and so they're depicting this whole thing, and so it is going to be a little bit over the top. But he puts it to one of the star's characters, Shane Harper as Josh Wheaton. The character of Josh Wheaton in this film, I'm going to go ahead and say right now, is really the only thing that seems to be untainted by any other things that I don't really like about the movie, because he is the young college student who he's a devout Christian. He believes in God, and so as a matter of conscience, which you would think people would praise this movie for a willingness to take that kind of a stand, but because it is about God, you're seeing the opposite effect. Like you look at these reviews, like here's a couple of them. God's Not Dead is a vapid pat on the back for Christians. Message is lost amid melodrama. There is a little bit of melodrama in this. God's Not Dead is preaching to the choir. But you would think there would be someone in the secular world, in the world of all these the people who aren't coming at it from a religious perspective or the Christian perspective. You would think people would at least say, well, at least this film had someone who stood up for what they believed in. Going on, even if you wanted to say it in the most generic sense possible, about anything, at least someone stood up for what they believe in. But no, it's not just belief because it's a religious belief about God. It's, of course, going to get all these attacks. But in my opinion, Josh Wheaton's character is, and the way the actor portrays this character in the film, the way he handles himself, the things that he does in the movie, it makes me think, well, that's the best part of it of all. You don't ever see his family you see him visit with this, I guess he's supposed to be a preacher. I think he's responsible for the film. David A.R. White as Reverend Dave. You see him speak to him and get some advice about something early in the movie, but other than that, you don't see the college students' family. You like hear reference of them, but all you ever see of his life is he had a girlfriend. I say had a girlfriend in this character named Carrie, played by Cassidy Gifford. And again, this is another kind of over-the-top thing in the movie, in as much as she leaves him, again, for similar reasons as Dean Cain's character, Mark. It's not convenient for her to have him standing up for what he believes in this philosophy classroom, because he's told her about how, like, he let it slip, like, I'm basically putting all my focus on trying to put this argument forth in my classroom, in this one class, and I'm going to have to probably try and play catch-up for other classes toward the end of the semester. That alone is enough to set her off, and you end up having to watch 2 and 3 scenes of her saying things like, well, I'm sorry if I have our lives planned out, and I'm not going to risk you derailing your education and our future together. And you're almost thinking, what is this? She is so... And she talked about how her youth group met his youth group, but you're watching the movie thinking, man, is she selfish, man, is she self-centered. And really, when she storms off for the last time and you don't see her anymore in the movie, I'm thinking, good riddance, guy. You're lucky to be rid of this person who would talk to you like that and not put your personal defense of God and what you believe in your life, that's somehow she's supposed to be a Christian too, and yet this is some kind of impediment to your relationship together. It was kind of over the top in the way they did it, I guess, depicting how even these people who are supposed to be religious have the same kind of problems as the completely worldly, secular person who's absolutely obsessed with getting ahead and ditching loved ones, in the character of Mark, played by Dean Cain. It seemed like it was a bit much, but let me talk more about the Wheaton character, Josh Wheaton's character. Kevin Sorbo is Professor Radisson, and he puts it to the class, we're not going to have any mention of the man in the sky and all the other derogatory things he says about God, and we're going to get this over with day one by having them all put God's not dead, and signing their names too. And I was just thinking that's another, like, sealing your words there kind of a thing, because I think he had them want to sign their name too. He's collecting all these papers and he's like, Mr. Wheaton, you have a problem or something like that, and he's like, I can't do what you want me to do. And he actually and again, over the top, but I know what they're trying to do in the movie, and I don't know how else they would do it in the movie. It probably wouldn't be as entertaining as this film was if they did it in a more if they actually had real people who just don't give a care, like professors who would, if the few professors who would actually demand this kind of a thing, who are atheists and would want that for some reason, who would want this done. But it's Hercules, it's Kevin Sorbo, the way it's written and everything. This is the way they did it in the film. And he says, well, if you're not willing to, well, then you're going to have to defend the antithesis of this. You're going to have to prove that God exists, and you're going to have to do it in front of the classroom. And so, just like that, it's a neat little thing, and I like it that the Wheaton character is able to, even in the very beginning there, defend himself a little bit, saying, well, I'm not sure that would work. I'm afraid you would be biased against what I would try to say. And Kevin Sorbo's the professor. He's like, well, this is my classroom. This who would be the judge or something like that? And Wheaton says all of them and all these other like 90 something people or 100 or something people in the classroom, that they would be the jury. And so that's the way the professor then agrees to it. Very well. You will have 3 different sessions at the end of a class to present your thoughts, your work, your argument, and I will have a rebuttal or before or after, and the class will be the jury. And so then that's what the film is about. God's not dead. This whole thing is going to be about him defending his belief in God and not wanting to write God's not dead and sign his name to it. And really, I'm kind of surprised, but then again, I guess it says something about the state of America and the world and everything, that I've yet to see. Please link me to it, direct me to it in the comments if anybody sees this. Anybody from a secular viewpoint praising this film as being a good example or a good depiction of someone at least standing up for something that they believe in, even if maybe they don't believe in God or anything. You would think there's something about that alone that bothers me. It's like, because this is about God and not just religion, about God, about the Bible, and they actually do quote the Bible, and I was extremely impressed that, hey, I'm in a movie theater, and somebody read a couple pages from the passages from the Bible in this movie. So anyway, moving on. There is one scene, again, kind of over the top, after Wheaton isn't a complete failure in defending himself in his first argument. There's this weird scene where Kevin Sorbo's Professor Radisson, he actually walks fast after him down the hall. He grabs him, turns him around, and I'm thinking, that's assault. That is assault. Call campus security, call the cops. Anybody had a phone camera, they could say that you can't do that. And the thing is, the way he assaults him, says, you're not going to make a fool out of me in my classroom, and this kind of a thing. Because he basically, because it is about, the way they're depicting this character, it is about Kevin Sorbo's character, Professor Radisson, in the end, not necessarily not believing in God, but hating God because of the argument that he eventually took, because they end up going into different scientific references about evolution and how life began, how the universe came to be, and all this. And one particular quote that Kevin Sorbo's Professor Radisson says was a quote by Richard Dawkins, saying that the universe came to be by itself because it had to. And instantly, basically saying the same thing twice. And in his rebuttal, because he can't defend himself right there in that session, Wheaton doesn't, because for one thing, it doesn't really make sense. The statement that Dawkins was, the quotation, but that then the next session he says, he's using this logic, saying, well, it isn't in his mind even as a possibility that, for instance, God as the creator who created the universe, and so he's saying the universe had to create itself because it had to. He mentioned the particular logical fallacy that he used, and also brought in another quote by Richard Dawkins where he says, I don't know which book it is, whether it's the God Delusion or what book, just some work of Dawkins, and where he says philosophy is dead, and got quite a few chuckles from the class. This philosophy class, all these students in this philosophy class, and here Richard Dawkins was saying philosophy is dead, and it kind of was put back in the professor's face. But on and on it goes throughout the 3 different, as the movie goes along, the 3 different sessions that he has, and in the end it ends up with this explosive emotional scene where it's in the trailer, where Wheaton's character is basically saying, between the character of Kevin Sorbo's character, Professor Radisson, being depicted as someone in the end who, it's not that he didn't believe that there was a God, it's that he didn't want to because he hated God. And Wheaton's character ends up, like you see in the trailer, asking him, why do you hate God? And then he says, because he took everything from me. And you find out about how his mother had died tragically, and so, but then again, you could see he had emotional, there was, from the earlier emotional outbreak, then again, this is just a scripted movie, the way he assaulted him in that hallway, I couldn't get over that. Laying your hands on somebody, spinning them around like that, and saying, you're not going to get away with what you're trying to do, you're not going to one-up me in my own class and all this stuff. So, again, kind of over the top. But in the end, it's an interesting thing that, and I really like it, what happens to this transition that Kevin Sorbo's character, Professor Radisson, goes into, because, for instance, there's this dinner party, and Mina, Dean Cain's character, Mark, her sister, and again, their mother is the lady with Alzheimer's, the old lady with the invalid, the old lady with Alzheimer's. She gets mistreated horribly at this dinner party by Kevin Sorbo and all of his, it's like they're all philosophy buddies of his. Not that all philosophers are atheists or anything, but it's like he's the leader of this kind of snotty, mean behavior toward her, because he's talking about and joking about how he's got this student who is trying to defend the existence of God in his class and all this stuff. And she says, "Oh, that's interesting. That's very good." And then they kind of attack her, and they basically make her feel bad, and to the point to where she says, "Well, she forgot about the wine or something. They were drinking wine, and she forgot it in the car, and for some reason the taste was off." And then they were like, "Well, what do you expect?" Or, "Well, that's what happens when," or whatever. She ends up getting kind of emotional. She says, "Well, it's time for the help to leave." It's like she's been done wrong here by these, well, mainly by him. Her boyfriend or her fiance, I couldn't really, were they married? I don't know. You would think in IMDb that would have helped me out here, because I can't recall if they were even married, because she leaves him after that. She actually goes and gets some advice from the same guy as Josh Wheaton did, Reverend David A.R. White's character, and some really good advice from him. But ultimately, she ends up confronting him in front of some of his professor teaching buddies and friends there in the foyer of the school, saying, "Listen, we need to talk." And he thinks that, kind of like in the earlier part of the movie, that it's going to be some religious conversation. She wants him to talk about God or something, and I guess he's kind of afraid that, "Oh, not right now. Here, I'm Professor Radisson." And anyway, she's just saying, no, I'm leaving you. That's all I wanted to say. I'm leaving you. And he's like, you can't leave me. I won't allow it. And it was almost funny, this part of the movie, to hear him say, I refuse. How did he say it? "I refuse to let that happen. I forbid it," or something like that. And she's just announcing that I'm leaving you, you bum. And so I was like grinning, like, are you actually having his dialogue be that? Are you having Kevin Sorbo, Hercules say, you can't leave me. I won't allow it. It was kind of funny, even if it was supposed to be this serious moment. And again, they're depicting, I guess there is some truth to the criticism of the film, in as much as it seems to be a one-size-fits-all as far as the depiction of folks of atheists, that they're all God haters, as opposed to people who just don't believe in God. But then again, it is a good scene in the film, the way in this movie, that is, the way the Josh Wheaton's character says, when the professor admits, "Yes, I hate God," and he says, how can you hate someone who doesn't exist? And there's so that part of the film was pretty good, but again, there's an over the topness to some of it that I was like, it's, even if people maybe are like that on the inside, some of them sometimes, people don't really behave like this. I mean, I guess some do, but to put so much in this film of the guy's just going to leave his girlfriend, no time for you, you have cancer. The professor thinks he's in control of everything, since he's going to say, well, I forbid it. I forbid you to leave me. Well, it's happening. She's leaving you, guy. And just different things. The girlfriend leaving Josh because she doesn't have time for someone who would actually. That was another thing. Like, what is this? To see different characters behave in the way that they did, but there is one behind the scenes. Well, not a behind the scenes thing, but another thing you see during the film. David A.R. White's character. He's Reverend Dave, and also, where is he? Benjamin Oching as Reverend Jude. He's an African missionary, actually on vacation. He's taking a trip to the United States, wants to go to some water park or something, and there's this goofy little thing that you laugh, but at the same time it's like, this happened this many times. They get a rental car that won't crank whenever Dave gets in it, and he tries to crank it up, and how many times do they say, right when he might be getting agitated, right when he might be start to get mad about, they keep delivering me cars that don't work. He wants to take his friend to the park or whatever and have a day at the amusement park or whatever, and they never can do it because the cars never work. 3 different times they do this, and like half a dozen times they end up saying, God is good all the time. God is good. I'd have to look it up, but it's a neat little thing, and I mean, I like it. You smile and everything, but it's like, it seems like it's kind of a buffer in the film between all these other things that are happening. And again, these are kind of, again, there's an over the topness to the emotional plights of some of these other characters, because the one that the trailer draws you into is, or drawed me into, and why I went to see the film, was Josh Whedon's character. How have, I was curious, in this film, how have they portrayed this defense of God, the existence of God, this college student, and not wanting to say that God is dead, and rather said God's not dead? How did they do it? Because that's what I went to see the movie for. All this other stuff was just it. I understand the criticism of preaching to the choir that some people have said, and yet, who else is going to go see a movie like this? So that's the kind of film it is. And so really, you would think reviewers would just kind of not even review this film unless they understood that going in. But again, there's something very fundamental in what Josh Whedon does, and while I'm glad that they managed to make a film about this and that it did so well, a personal defense of a person's faith that I wanted to see, and I was glad to see in this film. But even just the principle of being willing to stand and not go along just to get along, that people would praise the movie just a little bit, just for that one little aspect of it, which isn't really, it's not something small. That's life. That's struggle. But again, direct me to some article if you have seen someone say something like that. Please, in the comments, because I haven't seen anything like that or heard anybody say anything good about the film like that. But anyway, the ending of the film is what really turned me off, because the character Amy ends up going to the the Newsboys Christian rock group or something like that, this concert, and again she's in attack mode, and yet not really, because her life has changed, because her life might soon be over because of her cancer that she has. She's asking them backstage, you really believe this stuff or whatever, and they end up having a neat little talk with her, and again, they pray for her and stuff, and it's like, it's supposed to be like she's converted, but I just didn't like the way that they did this, because it's not as though, I mean, it's encouraging, for sure, the way that she finally accepts that her life won't be over, and she's actually starting to think, due to the encouragement of these people at the end, that God is not dead, that there's hope of life beyond this one, and all the rest of it. But it's just, it's not even so much her character, it's an even more over the top scene that really turned me off. But while I'm talking about it, I'll go ahead and talk about this too, that in the Bible, because they actually do a good job in at least a couple scenes of quoting the Bible and going off of Christian source material, the Bible, the New Testament, a couple of good scenes. It's never in the Bible to just pray for someone and then they be okay, but they do for her in this scene of the movie. And while it is encouraging that she's you can see a change in her character. That's what's encouraging, that she's starting to accept some things and give herself hope in the way that these other people who were supposed to be Christians have a hope that she's never allowed herself to have, and that she desperately needs all of a sudden now. Again, kind of over the top in that, like, she has cancer and the kind of person she was, but again, this is just a depiction in a film. But even more so than that is what happens, is what they do with the character of Professor Radisson, Kevin Sorbo. In the last rebuttal, and after he says God's not dead, it's like an almost unanimous, if not unanimous, thing. The class gets up after Wheaton's last speech and says, God is not dead, beginning with this neat little character played by Paul Kuo, Martin Yip. He's apparently a Chinese, I think Chinese, a foreign student come in. He kind of keeps kind of a low profile, and yet he's kind of intrigued by Wheaton's willingness to make a defense for something that he doesn't really understand. Quo's character doesn't really understand why he's doing it, and he actually asks him about it, like, why are you doing this? And it's a really great scene, because I'm thinking of the passage in the New Testament when I see this scene of, why are you doing this? And then Wheaton says something, and then Quo says, well, you didn't really answer my question. It was a good scene. I'm thinking of the verse in the New Testament that says, be ready always to give an answer of the hope that's in you. And I'm thinking, how great is that? He has this opportunity to say why he's making his defense of why he believes in God, and in front of all this class. And it is really a good a situational thing, the depiction of the film. But anyway, Quo, I think, is the first one to stand up in the class at the end of the final class and say that God is not dead, and they all join in. And the professor actually, again, over the top in the emotional outburst of it, he actually leaves. And so, again, you see what they're doing in the movie. And again, generally it's a good thing, and yet there doesn't seem to be any of the other perspective I'm thinking of, as far as atheism and agnosticism and things, where people just don't think that there is a God, and to go on it from non-emotional, again, it's not even so much that, it's the over-the-top way some of these characters were in this film. But anyway, let me just get to this final point that really was something that made me, I almost shook my head in the theater thinking, I can't believe they did this this way. It wasn't right, in my opinion. And I don't think it's just opinion is the thing about it. And I'm getting to it. What they do with the professor's character, he's going through this change all of a sudden between things he's been forced to talk about, between things that have been going on and being discussed in his class that he allowed. If he really wanted to, I guess he could have kicked the kid out if he wanted to and just face the consequences the first day. But things that he'd been thinking about, the fact that his girlfriend left him, or his fiance or whatever, Mina, who, I like this. This is something I like about the film too. You see that each person is an individual in their own individual journeys with their own individual needs. She wasn't getting what the kind of appreciation that she deserved from this man who, I'm thinking of the passage in Amos. Can two walk together except they be agreed? Agreed. She's except they be degreed. He's supposed to be this scholarly whatever who doesn't believe in God. She's maybe not this professor, but she does believe in God. How are they supposed to? Anyway, I'm sure maybe there is a couple out there who there is an atheist and a believer, and they do manage to coexist. If, like the Bible says, if they be pleased to dwell together and all that. It's just, I like this in the movie, how you see each person is that they bring into the film, they need something and they want something. You got the self-centered guy who's willing to not visit his mother, ditch him, abandon his girlfriend, money, money, money. He's going to be number one at whatever his career is in sales or marketing or whatever Dean Cain's character was. And again, I'm not sure about this, but I'll talk about that in a minute. A final over the top, which would beat all. I've only just learned about it a few minutes ago before starting this review, so it might not be right, but I'll get to it in just a second. How you see different characters who they need things in their own lives, they're on their own journeys, and they want things. How she wants something that she's not really getting in terms of a spiritual fulfillment, an appreciation in her relationship, and so Mina just ends up leaving Professor Radisson. And the thing that really killed the movie for me at the end was this. He's going through a change. Yes, he is in the category of atheists who he hates God, doesn't want to believe there is a God because of at least the inquisitive question, what kind of a God could have allowed his mother to be taken from him in the way she was? And so he's reading this letter in his office. It's like raining outside or something. Or no, not yet. It's not raining yet. It's just at night. He's reading this very beautiful letter that his mother had written him, because apparently she was this devout Christian, supposed to be. And the way the letter is worded, it's very beautiful. He's being reminded of things. He's been forced to think about things, and you see this change in him. He tries to call Mina, and you know what he's going to ask her about. It's his turn to say, "Can we talk? We need to talk. Please call me." And then he actually is leaving to go and see her, to find her. He sees like the newsboys advertisement or whatever in the paper, playing at the Civic Center, whatever. I don't know where it was at the end. Big rock concert deal. And so you know where he's going. He's going to go and try and find her at the concert. How's he going to find her among all these thousands of people? He wants to find her. He wants to talk about some things. You're seeing a definite change in his character. And so but the thing is, he's only just begun to really. This is what happens. You're seeing a change in his character. I'm kind of uplifted and getting upbeat about the professor because he's thinking about things. You see the wheels turning. He wants to reconcile with this Mina, this person who he apparently does care about, even if he was a bit of a butt earlier in the film. He's going to find her. The two missionary, the preachers he's taking them to the airport now or something. Vacation's over, never did get to the water park or whatever. And as much as I like some of those scenes of them together, even that was kind of tarnished by the end of this film. What happens? Hercules, Kevin Sorbo, he's waiting for the "don't walk" sign to say walk. It starts raining. He's like, oh, great. Are you kidding me, or something like that? He's getting soaking wet. Says walk. He's walking across the road. Gets nailed by a car, flipped up, and it looks like a slow-motion CGI shot. I'm like, whoa, they had some special effects in this supposed to be documentary-style film. He falls down. Ugh. The two preachers are there, and they rush over and it wasn't them, it was some other car. They rush out of their car and they go and help him. The car who ran him over just keeps on going. And I didn't realize this when I watched the movie, but that was supposed to be Dean Cain's character, Mark, and I'm thinking, oh my goodness, that's the most, if that's true, I'm not sure if it is, but if it is, that's got to be the most over-the-top thing of all, that he doesn't even have time in his life to stop for people he's run over. Anyway, he is like just a mess in the, he's run over in the, Kevin Sorbo's in the middle of the street getting rained on. Somebody says, call the police. And I'm thinking, call the cops. Did anybody get the tag number of that freak who just ran this poor man over? Anyway, they're like, call the police. But the what is the character's name again? He's the African missionary, Benjamin Oching's character. He says, there's not much time. His ribs are crushed. His lungs are filling with blood. And it's like, whoa, how do you know this? He had barely even ascertained for wounds or for injuries and stuff. And so they do this scene here that really took me out of the movie, because I'm thinking, oh, well, I guess they're going to use this as the final wake-up call for his character or something, and maybe now Mina will visit him in the hospital or something. No. He's about to die. He's about to die. And as I realized that, I immediately started to think, this might actually be a horror movie that I'm watching here, because this man is about to die. He's only just started to give himself a little hope. I'm encouraged by seeing someone change in this film. Someone who isn't dying of cancer like the other character is. And it's like, he comes over, and David A.R. White comes over, and he says, "Hi, I'm so and so. I'm gonna stay with you." And like, I think, what is the dialogue like? I think God's with you. You could have died instantly just then. And Sorbo's character, Professor Radisson, is saying something like, "I'd hate to see God mad if this is him watching out for you," or something like that. And he says, "You know what? I think he is watching out for you. You could have died instantly right now. Do you believe?" And they actually have this scene of like a deathbed repentance deal right here in the middle of this rainy street. Hercules has been run over. Professor Radisson is dying, and I think he recites a psalm that he actually knew from his childhood or whatever, from before he lost his mother. I don't know, since he made like he didn't want to have anything to do with God. Then again, he could quote Job in trying to refute the things that Wheaton was saying during the class. Man is full of trouble. It really took me out of the movie, because they do this thing where he says, "Do you believe?" And then they pray before he dies, and that's supposed to that he's supposed to be saved or whatever, just from him saying a prayer before he dies. And for the next 10 minutes of the film, it transitions from that to what's going on with Amy's character and the good boys. I mean, the newsboys, good boys. The newsboys start their concert, and whoever you are, you know who you are, and made a recent defense for God in the classroom. Thank you so much, and God be praised. They have the song, kind of a catchy thing, although I don't generally listen to Christian rock music. They're playing it on the radio now too. God's not dead, he's surely alive. And also, someone I can't believe I've completely forgot to mention during the film, there's this Muslim girl, well, not really a Muslim, of Middle Eastern origin. Her family's Muslim, and she's been having this struggle of trying to hide her faith from her dad during the film. And the only over-the-top thing I guess they didn't do was to not have an honor killing in this film. I guess they finally drew the line there, because when her dad finds out that she's a Christian, she has a picture of, artist's conception of Jesus Christ, of what he looked like, her iPhone or whatever, there's this horribly emotional scene where her dad's crying and he pops her in the face and he puts her out the door, and then he collapses crying and she's crying, and how she goes to the reverend guy for anyway, that part of the film was actually kind of that was another good part of the film. Again, this struggle of trying to be faithful in spite of the world, even in spite of family, regardless of the way anybody would treat someone, that they're trying to do what they're convicted by the Bible is right. That I actually liked in the movie and in her character. Is she on IMDb? Can't find her here. Is she supposed to be? I don't think it's Alexia Pearl. Aisha. Here it is. Hadil Situ. And her character, lost it again. Anyway, this girl who was trying to be faithful to what her convictions were, she's also attended this concert at the end. And again, kind of a neat part of the movie, if slightly over the top, maybe not as much as some of the other things, but what they do to the professor just really took me out of the movie. He dies, and to have the concert going on and then cut back to what happened in the street with it raining, and the African missionary guy, he actually says, it's a sad thing this man has passed, but the joy in heaven, because he's in heaven now or whatever. And I'm thinking, there's a deviation here big time from some of the other things that have happened in the film, because, and again, I'm afraid it's that they're pushing this one particular point, that this doctrinal thing of grace only, because the Bible, when you read the New Testament, you see, you read things in Acts and in the epistles about how you have to become a Christian. One has faith, that they believe, and they confess Jesus as the Son of God, repenting of sins, and are baptized. That the apostles go into how you're baptized, you're buried with Christ in baptism, and then you rise to walk a new life, that you're saved then. But this whole thing, and I know there's a huge thing out there about how just believing, just something that goes on in your mind, and ta-da, you're suddenly saved. They do that in this movie, and I just could not believe it. I'm thinking, I'm so encouraged by this man who, he seemed kind of despicable in certain parts of this movie, but then at the end, he's like, he wants to be reconciled with Mina. He's thinking about this letter his mother wrote him about, I know you're going to grow up to be a good man, a godly man. All these, constantly be reminded of God, God, God. And then you can see he's changed course. And that's what they do with his character in the end. They kill him off and then claim that he's in heaven just because he said something or thought something while he was dying. And I'm thinking, if you're dying or you're in pain, or maybe like these tortured people, like if you're being tortured, these Abu Ghraib stuff, someone who's being tortured for information, interrogated or something, they'll say anything that they think that they need to say to get some relief, to make the pain go away. This whole film was supposed to be, well, one, the college student defending his belief in God, but also they have all these other side characters and stories about spiritual enrichment and how to look. It really took me out of the movie that they killed his character off. It wasn't right. It was wrong. And anybody who wants to take exception with me in this, what I'm saying here, I'll be glad to defend my what I'm saying here, because it killing off Hercules, having Superman, because Dean Cain, he used to be Adventures of Lois and Clark. Superman running over Hercules and killing him just really took me out of the movie. So much so that, I mean, it's a serious thing with me that I wouldn't really encourage anybody to watch this movie because of that one thing, because it isn't right. It it tainted the whole movie and ruined the ending completely, because while Josh Whedon's character is the best thing about the film, and ultimately what I went to see the movie for, to see how they depicted this defense of God in this classroom with, again, he's over the top depicted as this despicable guy who, like the evil atheist, as opposed to just the atheist, a plain atheist, you might say, this over-the-top thing, and then killing off his character instead of having the kind of thing the Bible talks about rising to walk in newness of life, this obedience to the gospel of Jesus Christ, instead of having this changed life and having someone go on to live a life for God instead of, no, they kill him off. And then I almost had like this, when the guy said, but the rejoicing in heaven, like, I don't think this fellow who just got run over and was dying would be in heaven just because you were there and you talked with him, and just because he suddenly believed. I'm sure he did believe something. If he believed that he was about to die, just like anybody would. Anybody who's just been hit by a car, his ribs are crushed, his lungs are filling with blood, or somebody being tortured, or somebody who just suffered some other accident. If you would say anything, you would, to make the pain go away. And if he's about to die, and oh yes, I believe in God now. Oh, absolutely, and I believe anything I believe anything I need to believe, because I'm about to die. And if there is a God, and if there is an afterlife, and I hope there is, because I'm about to die, and so I need to. That's the next step for me. I hope there is a God. Yeah, all of a sudden now that I've been hit by a car, the ending just it tainted this film, when it was a generally, the over the top stuff aside, it was a generally good film throughout. But then the things they did with that character, I could not believe it. It upset me. They really did a number on this film at the end. And of course, you have the thing at the concert. Everybody's talked about this. Text everybody in your contact list. Willie Robertson, another cameo appearance, saying, text everybody, tell them God's not dead. And I think I might have actually seen some cell phones come on. I don't have a cell phone. I think I might have actually seen some cell phones come on at the end of that film to text people. But yeah, it was a generally good, very good film that people have called it faith-affirming. I would say that there are some faith-affirming things in this film. Ultimately, though, I have this thing about whether or not I say a film is a good use of film, and unfortunately, while there are good things, there's also something very dangerous and deceptive about the ending of this film that it isn't right. It is not right. What they did with that character is the absolute worst thing they could have done at that point, and it just completely took me out of the movie. Well, that's why I'm calling this my rant on God's Not Dead instead of just my review, because while I understand what they were trying to do, and while they did a good job in that character, the Josh Whedon character, pretty good job, killing off the professor like the villain in some superhero movie, and then saying that, oh, they're rejoicing in heaven because he suddenly believed in his last moments. Well, if anybody's aware of their last moments, then anybody can do that. And really, that's not what the Bible says. That's not right. And that's all I can say about that part of it. But I'd hate to end the review on such a sour note, for at least what I call a sour note, but unfortunately that's the way I have to end it. Taking only the good from it, I really like Josh Wheaton's character. I really like the character of I'm gonna find her real quick. Hadil Situ as Aisha. I liked her character a lot, and so probably the best two things in the movie. There was a little bit of melodrama in the movie, but it was basically just the stark contrast of how people are treated and how everybody's on a journey and things aren't what they seem in these relationships, and how love of one another and love of God really isn't what a lot of people think that it is. And I'm going to have to end on that. I know this review is an hour and 5 minutes long. Yeah. So generally good movie, and those are my two favorite people in the film. The characters and the way that they were portrayed, Aisha and Josh Wheaton. So I'm going to call that a review, and we'll see you in the next movie review. Thank you so much for watching.